people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Behind the ropes with Jasmina Zapotoczna. I feel like I was born to perform, Jasmina told me in March. I feel like showing my skills to an audience, but the European flyweight champion hasn't had the opportunity to showcase her immense skills since she recorded the biggest win of her career at the Royal Albert Hall back in March. It was a night that Zapotoczna upset the previously unbeaten Chloe Watson to relieve the Birkenhead fighter of her EBU title. It was in many ways her coming out party. The whole week was pure enjoyment, Zapotoczna said of the time. I was so happy to be there. I was excited. I was enjoying myself. I felt so honored and special just by being there and being part of that massive show. That's why I couldn't stop smiling, and I still can't stop smiling. The smile might still shine, but Zapotoczna hasn't fought since that iconic night on the historic all-female card. The European champion is coming off those big breakthrough wins over Watson, and in her previous fight, a victory over another unbeaten prospect in Maisie Rose. But Zapotoczna probably epitomizes the current state of play within the UK scene on the female side of the sport. Make no mistake, Zapotoczna is not the only fighter struggling for airtime. What doesn't help the situation is that suddenly there are less opportunities for a female boxer in the UK now that Boxer is between broadcasters. Her last fight was on the undercard of a Boxer show, the Jonas versus Price fight. Queensberry, they never did that many women's bouts to begin with, and Matchroom seems to be thinning out their stable of Valkyries. I've previously documented the depth of the domestic flyweight ranks, opponents that offer Zapotoczna a multitude of options. No flyweight plying her trade in the UK should be short of fights, but they are. There is a way, but there is seemingly no will. Why? Courtney, Watson, Nicola Hopewell, Laura Payne, Lauren Parker, and Megan Redstall are amongst a talented brigade of talent that reside in and around the flyweight division. Easy fights to make, good fights to make, relatively cheap fights to make. Why is it so difficult? Nicola Hopewell recently beat Marie Connon to claim the IBO's flyweight bauble in a so-called four-belt era. The IBO is a lesser incarnation of the sanctioning bodies, certainly in comparison with the WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF. Many will argue the validity of the world title tag, but it should carry enough value to give Hopewell some worthwhile competition in the coming months. Maisie Rose Courtney and Lauren Parker have already expressed an interest in fighting Hopewell, and so has Jasmina Zapotoczna. Yeah, I've seen Nicola Hopewell. She's actually pretty good. I spoke to Zapotoczna the day after her win over Chloe Watson in March. Even before the worksop fighter had the IBO title in her possession, Zapotoczna was already thinking of fighting her regular sparring partner. In and on the record interview, Zapotoczna said of Hopewell, "We both know that we are in the same weight division, and we can see that one day we might see each other in the ring. If boxing works in simplistic terms, a fight between Nicola and Jasmina, who between them hold the IBO and EBU and Commonwealth titles, should be an absolute no-brainer, or at least it should be." At 31, Zapotoczna has her best years ahead of her, and in truth, she would be a natural fit to join the MVP revolution. Highlighting MVP's recent signings, they're signing women all over the place, from all over the place, the UK, America, Australia, Mexico. Reigning EBU flyweight champion Zapotoczna is a promotional free agent, and she could be another talented addition to that already talent-rich Jake Paul and Nikisa Badarian stable. Zapotoczna is ranked 3rd by the IBF, and both the WBA and the WBO have her in the top 10 of their flyweight rankings. Zapotoczna will hope her time is coming. It should. Now, do you remember when I said that I would have signed a lot of other boxers to an MVP deal before I signed Shannon Courtenay? Jasmina encompasses that statement because Jasmina, I think, is punch for punch a more skilled boxer than, say, Shannon Courtenay in what is a deeper division, an even deeper division than, say, Super Bantam or Feather. But in many ways, the women's flyweight division faces the same issues that the men's flyweight division faces. A lot of people just don't take it in the West. They don't watch it, even though the gene pool at flyweight is much deeper than what you find at feather or super feather or lightweight. The lower weights could use more of an investment. And the issue is, with a promotional outfit like Boxer that regularly staged women's boxing matches being between broadcasters, that closes some doors. Perhaps Jasmina could come back on a GBM show. Assuming that GBM still has a broadcast deal with DAZN, they were doing their own shows on the platform for a short while, and if they still are, maybe Jasmina can come back with them. But this is an example of how there is more work that needs doing when it comes to the women's game. The conversation often centers around the same pool of names: Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Clarissa Shields, Michaela Mayer, so on and so forth. There is an entire ocean of new fighters and fresh faces out there that could use some airtime on those big stages. Hopefully, Jasmina's time will come. Though I'd be lying to you if I said I had any immediate solutions to this ongoing problem.
But look, man, it's been a long time coming. Like, I just want to start with the situation, of course, you know? I want to start with the situation, of course, you know, June 7th. The jump, I'm going to try not to cuss, but the situation messed me up so much. It damn near took me 2 months to get back on live. It's August 1st. That jump happened June 7th, like. And I felt some type of way when the people was just like, I don't really care, because, like, that's not true. Like, after that situation had happened, bro, like, you know, I was really never right ever since, you know, and I had to start, like, really, like, leaning on my family and leaning on God's word and, you know, leaning on the people that really love me, because, like, I was, like, just not myself. And just reflecting on that night, man, it was super wrong. It wasn't right for what I did. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't right at all. Me making weight wasn't right. It was a lot of stuff that I was doing that week that was off camera that wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? Like fighter meetings. I had fighter meetings that I was snapping the fighter meetings, and that wasn't right. And hey, y'all don't worry about the businessman. But the businessman is done. He's retired. He's gone. You know what I'm saying? So y'all gonna see me at fights and stuff though. But in the ring, it's kind of slow right now in the ring. So y'all, if y'all want me back, y'all go talk to y'all friends or something. Go talk to my promoter. Y'all want me back in the ring.
That video upload to Keyshawn Davis's social media has been widely interpreted as his quote-unquote retirement. But we all know that when a fighter says he's retired, especially these days, that's only momentarily. All it really means is that he's in between fights with no immediate plans to return, though I've no doubts he will return. A part of it, at least a part of it, has to be that his promoter, that normally does his fights, is in between broadcasters right now, and we have no ETA on when Top Rank will return. Bob Arum has gone on to say that when they come back, they may come back across as many as 2 or 3 different platforms with more fight dates than before in the fall, and let's hope that he's right. But even in a doomsday scenario, where Top Rank doesn't land on their feet, Keyshawn Davis is far too good a fighter to just fade into the background. In a situation like that, he could always go to Matchroom. Go back to Matchroom, I should say, since he debuted as a professional under the Matchroom banner. The bottom line is, when Keyshawn Davis says that he's retired, that's only for dramatic effect. He's just in a state of limbo until his next fight. How many times did you hear Tyson Fury say he was retired, just for Tyson Fury to come back? Teofimo Lopez said that in between the Claggett fight and the Arnold Barboza fight. He said he was retired, so that when Keyshawn Davis says that the businessman is retired, it's anything but. He's just on a short hiatus. He now enters into the super lightweight division. When he returns, it won't be as a 135-pounder. We all know he can't make that weight anymore. The super lightweight division is an even deeper division than the lightweight division. There are 4 reigning world champions there. Subriel Matias has the WBC. Amateur standout Gary Antoine Russell has the WBA. Teofimo Lopez still has the WBO. And Richardson Richens has the IBF. Keyshawn Davis versus any one of them makes for a great fight. And don't forget that Keyshawn Davis, along with being a top-ranked fighter, is also a Ring Magazine ambassador. Whatever opportunities Top Rank can't get him at this time, Turkey LL Sheik and Ring Magazine can get him. I think he has the potential to become the face of that division. Some would argue that Teofimo Lopez is the biggest name at 140, the most recognizable fighter, but it's hard to say that he's the face at the weight when there were 3 other guys running around with 3 other belts. He's not really the top dog. And he, like Keyshawn Davis, is also on a short hiatus. So this is where things get interesting for Keyshawn, who didn't spend a whole lot of time in the men's lightweight division. I didn't think that he would, given his physical dimensions, his frame. He was a very big lightweight, big enough that arriving at super lightweight, he's gonna be even faster. He's gonna be even stronger and more devastating. It's not an exact science who will be able to stay in character upon moving up in weight. It differs from fighter to fighter. Some guys move up in weight, and they're not the same. Some other guys, they're even better. And for Keyshawn Davis, I think it will be the latter, not the former. Not having to cut that extra 5 to make 135 could result in an even more energized, more sharp, and more strong fighter. He's still one of the more recognizable fighters anywhere at or around these weights, so I reiterate, whatever opportunities Top Rank can't get him momentarily, Turkey LL Sheik can get him, Ring Magazine can get him, but of course, fighting on a Ring Magazine card, it ain't gonna be for a tune-up. If that's what it comes down to, you can make money, you can definitely make money, but you gotta fight a live body. We'll see what happens in the fall when I anticipate Keyshawn Davis will return. Men's junior middleweight news, the ongoing feud between Xander Zayas, the newly crowned WBO champion, and Virgil Ortiz, seemingly the uncrowned king, who yesterday uploaded a lengthy comment, a lengthy response to Xander Zayas. Xander Zayas, who said, look, I'm a world champion at 22 and he's 27 and hasn't accomplished anything. Virgil didn't like that. So Virgil uploads a comment about how his resume is so much better than Xander's. It was a lengthy read. Took 2 screenshots to get it. Xander responded by saying, keep all those excuses to yourself, brother. Talk to me when you become a world champion. To which Virgil responded, ain't no excuses, it's all facts, my guy. From where I'm sitting, Virgil's resume is really only slightly better than Xander Zayas's. They both fought former champions, Virgil and Israel Madrimov, and Xander and Patrick Teixeira, and they've both fought in their fair share of filler fights and bring-along fights, but Virgil is several years older than Xander Zayas, to where you should have fought for a world title by now, and if you haven't, it's somebody's fault. I think it's Golden Boy's. What's even more contentious is that while Virgil tries to take a dump on Xander's resume, and Xander becoming a WBO champion via a vacant title, don't forget that Xander actually signed on to fight Virgil. Remember? It wasn't that long ago. Supposed to be for one of Turkey's cards? According to Xander, he agreed to fight Virgil Ortiz, and Team Ortiz went in a different direction. They went in the direction of former champion Israel Madrimov, who was still coming off the loss to Terrence Crawford. Wasn't a bad choice, by the way. I liked the fight. But you see how it looks, that how can Virgil take a shot at Xander in Xander's resume when Xander signed on to fight Virgil? He signed on to fight you, so how can you criticize him when your team goes in a different direction? How can you criticize him when his team and his management have guided him to a world title at just 22 years old and you're 27 and still haven't fought for one? 27 is very, very close to 30. It needs to be said that Virgil Ortiz has been the WBC interim champion for months, but I don't see him or anybody on his side putting pressure on Sebastian Fundora for their shot. Virgil's got the WBC interim. Sebastian has the full title. So it needs to be said that even if Xander Zayas doesn't have all that great a resume, and even if all he fought for in his last fight was a vacant title, he's only 22 years old and still managing to get a lot done in a short amount of time. The bar of expectation for a fighter that is 22 is not the same as the bar of expectation for a fighter who is almost 30. And Virgil is almost 30 years old. I know most people don't think of him as being that age, but he is. He's 27. Now, I got no problem with either of their resumes so far. It's just a few talking points. I feel like the sooner this fight happens, the better it is for Virgil. Catch Xander Zayas while he is still relatively inexperienced and relatively green. The sooner you get him, the better. I like the pressure of Virgil Ortiz and the volume. I like the infighting of Virgil Ortiz. We just saw in the Jorge Garcia fight that you can pressure Xander Zayas and render him somewhat uncomfortable. You noticed that whenever Jorge got in close, Xander didn't want to trade with him. He instead elected to tie him up, smother him. It's a good bit of strategy. The audience doesn't always like it, but it works to smother the other guy. But if you're electing to hold instead of catching and countering, slipping and countering, or rolling and countering, it must be because you're uncomfortable in the pocket. So just imagine how much more uncomfortable Virgil could make him in a pocket. That window is closing now. The window to catch Xander Zayas while he's still relatively inexperienced and still relatively green, that window is closing. Xander is a boxer puncher, and Virgil is a pressure fighter. More often than not, boxer punchers get the edge over pressure fighters because they can box and punch. Where pressure fighters just want to punch. They just want to brawl. What gives that boxer puncher the edge over a pressure fighter is they can move and punch. They can alternate between offense and defense, have a more balanced approach. Then you tack on the fighters' physical dimensions, that Xander's not a small 154. Even if he's not the biggest puncher, and he's not big on power, he's still good in other areas. He's got good height, good length, good movement, defense, level changes, countering ability. Over time, as he's able to put it all together, it makes him a much more difficult assignment for a Virgil Ortiz. So maybe Virgil is a bigger puncher than Xander Zayas, and maybe he is a bit more durable than Xander Zayas. He can hold a shot better. Maybe, but none of it counts for nothing if you can't land, if you can't get to this guy. Maybe Virgil is much better on the inside than Xander Zayas, but it counts for nothing if you can't get inside. And what we know is Xander's not going to make himself a stationary target. He's not going to stand in one spot and wait for you to come to him. He's going to move. It's a fascinating fight.